If you follow the Seahawks closely, you know there's always something happening behind the scenes with this team. And right now, there are a few positive updates that could quietly make a big difference moving forward. From roster depth to players working their way back to the field, and even some important changes around the coaching staff, there are several signs that things are moving in the right direction for Seattle. Let's talk about what's going on and why it matters for the team this season. So don't waste any time, click the like button, and subscribe to the channel to stay well informed. Go Seahawks! The Seattle Seahawks just quietly made another move that says a lot about the direction of this roster. And if you've been paying attention to what this front office has been doing lately, you'll notice a very clear pattern forming. Seattle continues stacking depth with players who may not always dominate headlines, but bring toughness, versatility, and a willingness to do the gritty work that winning teams rely on. And the latest example of that philosophy is the decision to bring back safety D'Anthony Bell on a one-year deal. This signing might not be the kind that explodes across national media, but inside the building, it matters. Bell spent most of last season moving between the practice squad and the active roster. And despite that instability, he still managed to carve out a role for himself primarily on special teams. The Seahawks value special teams more than many organizations in the league, and Bell fits perfectly into that identity. He's the type of player who isn't afraid to throw his body around on kickoff coverage, punt units, and return teams. Those are the kinds of reps that rarely make highlight reels, but consistently win the hidden yardage battles that swing games. Statistically, the numbers may look modest at first glance. Bell recorded 15 tackles, which might not jump out immediately. But the context matters. Because he spent much of the year bouncing between the practice squad and the active roster, his opportunities were limited, and most of his snaps came in special teams situations. Even so, when he was on the field, he showed the kind of effort and reliability coaches love. And when you're building out the bottom half of your roster, that kind of player becomes extremely valuable. Another reason the move matters is positional depth. Safety has quietly become an area where Seattle needs reinforcement, especially after recent roster changes. The Seahawks have seen how quickly injuries can force backups into major roles. There was a situation recently where a player expected to contribute mostly on special teams ended up stepping into a starting role because of injuries to key defensive backs. That experience clearly influenced the team's approach. Bringing back Bell ensures they have someone who already understands the system and can step in if needed. But that's only the first piece of good news surrounding the Seahawks right now. There's another development that could have an even bigger impact on the offense, and it involves a player many fans have been asking about for months, running back Kenny McIntosh. If you remember, McIntosh's momentum was completely halted by a torn ACL that kept him out for the entire season. That injury wiped away what many believed could have been a breakout opportunity. Now, however, there are strong signs that he's attacking rehab aggressively and putting himself in position to return to the field sooner than many expected. And the reason that matters is because of the kind of runner McIntosh is. In limited action previously, he averaged an impressive 5.5 yards per carry across just 31 rushing attempts. That sample size is small, but it revealed something important about his style. McIntosh isn't just another power runner grinding between the tackles. He's a slasher. He's the type of back who can reach the second level and suddenly turn a normal run into a big play. That skill set could become extremely important given how the Seahawks' running back room is shaping up. The roster now includes players like Emmanuel Wilson, Zach Charbonnet, Cam Akers, and others who bring physicality and downhill running. Those players can punish defenses and wear them down, but not all of them possess true breakaway speed once they reach open space. McIntosh, on the other hand, has shown that he can separate from defenders once he gets into the second level. In other words, he could become the explosive change-of-pace option that complements the more physical backs in the rotation. And if his rehab continues progressing the way it currently appears to be, Seattle might suddenly have a dynamic weapon returning at exactly the right time. Now, the third piece of news might actually be the most significant when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture of the franchise. Head coach Mike Macdonald has officially finalized his coaching staff, and the structure of this group tells you a lot about how the Seahawks plan to build on their recent success. At the coordinator level, there are two names generating real excitement. Brian Fleury is stepping in as the offensive coordinator. While this will be his first time officially holding that title, his coaching background is incredibly diverse. He has experience working on both sides of the ball and has coached the tight end position, which is one of the most demanding spots to manage because it requires balancing blocking responsibilities with receiving production. That kind of perspective often translates well when designing an offense that needs to be flexible and unpredictable. On the defensive side, Aiden Dirty takes over as defensive coordinator. While Mike Macdonald remains heavily involved in defensive play calling, Dirty has built a reputation as a strong teacher and recruiter who can develop players and maximize their potential within the system. But what might be even more impressive about this staff isn't just the coordinators, it's the collection of experienced assistants the Seahawks managed to keep or bring in. For example, Zach Orr joins as the inside linebackers coach. He previously served as a defensive coordinator with the Baltimore Ravens, which means Seattle now has someone with coordinator-level experience working directly with that position group. Justin Oughton remains the run game coordinator, a major win considering there was concern he might leave after not receiving the offensive coordinator job. Keeping him maintains continuity for a rushing attack that became increasingly effective. Then there's John Benton, the offensive line coach, who also received an expanded role as a key offensive assistant. His impact has already been noticeable. The Seahawks' offensive line improved dramatically, going from one of the most criticized units in the league to a group that eventually performed at an average and at times even higher level. Another intriguing addition is Daniel Stern as the passing game strategist, a coach brought over from the Baltimore Ravens, who is widely viewed as one of the sharpest football minds around. Alongside him is Jake Peet as passing game coordinator, another coach the Seahawks were determined to retain despite outside interest. And that's not even mentioning other additions like Thomas Hammock, the former Northern Illinois head coach, who will now guide the running backs. When you put all of this together, the depth signings, the return of key players from injury, and a coaching staff filled with experienced voices, it creates a fascinating picture of where the Seahawks are heading next. Building on a championship season is never easy. Teams lose coaches, players get poached, and expectations skyrocket. Yet somehow, Seattle appears to have strengthened multiple areas of the organization at once. So now the question shifts to the fans watching all of this unfold. With DeAnthony Bell returning for depth, Kenny McIntosh working his way back from injury, and Mike Macdonald locking in a coaching staff packed with experience and continuity, do you believe the Seahawks actually improved this offseason? And when you look at everything happening right now in Seattle, it really feels like the organization is doing exactly what great teams are supposed to do after a successful season. They're not standing still. They're not assuming last year's success will automatically carry over. Instead, they're reinforcing the roster with depth pieces like DeAnthony Bell, staying patient with talented players like Kenny McIntosh as he works his way back from injury, and most importantly, building a coaching staff around Mike Macdonald that could keep this team competitive for years to come. That combination matters more than people realize. Depth wins games in November and December. Explosive players returning from injury can completely change an offense. And A strong coaching staff is often the difference between a good team and a championship contender. The Seahawks seem to understand that formula right now, and every move we're seeing points toward a franchise that is trying to stay one step ahead of the rest of the league. But now, I want to hear from you, the 12s who follow this team every single day. Do you believe the Seahawks actually got better this offseason with these moves? Are you excited about the return of Kenny McIntosh and what he could bring to the offense? And how do you feel about the coaching staff Mike Macdonald has put together for this team? Drop your thoughts down in the comments because I read them all, and I want to know what you're thinking about the future of this team. And if you enjoy staying updated with everything happening around the Seattle Seahawks, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now so you don't miss any breaking news, roster moves, or inside analysis about this team. Also, leave a like on the video because it really helps the channel grow and lets YouTube know that Seahawks fans want more content like this. And before you go, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now. That video has more Seahawks news and updates that you definitely don't want to miss. If you want to stay ahead of every major development surrounding the team, that's exactly where you should go next, because the latest Seahawks news, analysis, and updates in firsthand always happen right here on the channel.